Hello and welcome to The Life You're Made For. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Pinney. Often our world feels reactive, confusing, and chaotic. On this show, we're going to slow down together. Take a breath, listen, and learn. We'll be joined in conversations with influential thinkers who will help us make new connections, understand our unique potential, check the beliefs we hold, and learn how to overcome unexpected challenges. I know that each and every one of us holds our own inner clarity, confidence, and courage, what I call 3C living and leading. So let's go after it together. I'm cheering you on. Well, hello, Alyssa. So good to see your face.
I know. It's funny to be on Zoom. We're always actually in each other's rooms and hanging out that way. So
Yes. Alyssa and I go way back. And that's a little bit of what you've been hearing with these series. I love bringing on people that I've watched and known for years and years and years. And I want to say over 20 plus years, haven't we, Alyssa?
Yeah, I think so. A couple of decades, right?
Yes.
As long as
yeah.
we've been here.
Grew our babies up together and our families. And one of the things I love about Alyssa, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself here in just a minute, but is this idea that we value good guidance in our life. We value being a good guide. We value seeking out good guidance. We believe in the power of community. We believe in the power of friendships, and we believe in the power of sage and wise advice. So that's something that I really thought about you, Alyssa, when I thought about doing this series. I thought, I'm going to see if she wants to come on, because I thought about our millions of conversations where you and I have probably served as good guides for each other at times, or we've shared good guides in our life or guidance that we've received to pass on to one another. And we've just been so much about personal, professional growth. And so I'm just excited to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be on this end. I often listen to you as I'm driving around. When I miss Heather, I just jump on her podcast and listen to her interview people. And that's great. So now we actually get to hang out and do it together. That's so fun.
Thank you, Alyssa.
That's great.
Well, go ahead and tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Alyssa. I live here in NorCal by Heather, and I am a mom of 3 teenagers, 1 in college, 2 in high school. That's one of my favorite roles. Married to a college professor. We've been doing college ministry together for many years, and going on our 25th anniversary this year, which is pretty fun. And for jobs right now, I am an educational specialist for a homeschool charter. So I actually kind of work as a guide, I realized, for families who are taking on the brave challenge and adventure of educating their kids at home and finding alternative ways to raise them. And I get to kind of come alongside as the coach and a resourcer and help to cheer them on in that journey. So that's pretty much who I am. And in my spare time, I love to take walks with Heather and enjoy the outdoors, and then also spend a lot of time with college students, the overlap of my husband's work and ministry, and we do a lot of that together. So yeah, it's been fun to watch you over the years, and we sure have grown quite a bit, haven't we? Yes, we have. So fun.
Well, yeah, let's jump in a little bit about this. In fact, if you don't mind me sharing, first when I asked you to come on the show, you're like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about good guides. I don't know what that is. So I don't think I am equipped to talk about that." I was like, "That's fine. There's plenty of things I'll have you talk about." And then you heard my solo podcast about good guides, and something shifted, and you said, "Oh, now I know what you're talking about."
Totally. That was so funny, because I thought, oh my goodness, the kinds of people you have on this podcast. And I part of it was probably a little bit of imposter syndrome too.
Sure.
Like, what would I have to add to this conversation?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about good guides more so as like having, a therapist in your life, having a coach in your life currently. And I thought, oh, well, right now I'm not pursuing a ton of growth in that way. I probably need to be. Actually, fun fact, I actually called after your podcast, the first one, I called a spiritual director that has been like in the back of my mind. And I was like, you know what, it is time. I'm tired of making excuses. I need to call her up and make an appointment and kind of experience growth. So anyways, I was thinking about it more so on that side of things. But as I listened to you more unpack that idea of having a good guide and looking back at your life and who were the people who stepped in to sort of guide you, then it made a lot more sense. I thought, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to add to the conversation for whatever.
Oh yeah. No, you definitely will. And I think that's why I was excited about this podcast series. You know, clearly in my work as a coach and then previous teacher, but parent,
Yeah.
everything else, and then seeking out so many styles of guides. When I started really reflecting on this, I thought there are so many types of guides that come into our life right when we need them. Formal, like we actually pay them, have a professional service with them. Informal, books, authors, just people that we might even encounter that don't even know us,
Right.
but they influence our lives. So that's why I wanted to open this conversation up and just say, hey, who've been some good guides in your life? So let's jump in there.
Yeah. Yeah, as I look back, I am so grateful to have had many people come in, like you're talking about, just at certain seasons of my life when I really needed them.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about teachers, I am a teacher, so of course I was drawn to the teachers in my life. I remember one in particular who it was her first year as a teacher, but she taught with so much enthusiasm and zeal, and even at a young age, she already was putting, she knew I wanted to be a teacher and she already kind of pulled me alongside. I got to help her and stay after class. And I remember her just empowering me, even as a little girl. And then,
Mm-hmm.
Through high school, thinking about some volunteer leaders from a Young Life Club who really walked with me through that season. And I'm so fortunate to have grown up in a family where I actually really enjoy being with them and
Mm-hmm.
my siblings, my parents, though we are not perfect and there's hard things in any relationship. Overall, my mom and dad have been pretty significant guides in my life, paving the way.
Mm.
My grandmas, you knew my grandma.
Yes, I did have the
Um,
privilege of knowing her.
she was a light and funny.
Mm-hmm.
She was a firecracker, wasn't she?
Yes,
But
yes, she was.
she sure made the most of life. She taught me about living with gratitude and
Mm.
making the most of the opportunities that were given, even though her life was hard.
Mm-hmm.
She chose to live with optimism. So yeah, all along the way,
Mm.
there have been people who have come in and out, friends for sure. It's funny, I have a group of friends who are about 10 years ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a group of friends who are 10 years behind me. And I realized, oh, that's actually really helpful because
Mm-hmm.
I can go to friends, even like you, who are a couple steps ahead and be like, talk to
Mm-hmm.
me about empty nest. I'm coming up on that. What do I need to know about when they come home? And so just, yeah, having people through different seasons that get to speak into our lives, such a gift.
Oh gosh, I love that idea. And I love that thought because I think that's why I have loved so many different styles of guides in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And because our 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 life doesn't take this. I'm stuttering on this because I'm like trying to get this out going, oh my goodness. Our life does not take a straight path. It's
Correct.
so twisty and turny. But you and I both got married younger.
Yeah.
I was 23. You were
21.
21. Yes. So we were
Yep.
babies.
Yep.
What do we know at 21 and
I
23?
know.
But we have an idealistic kind of thinking in our mind of how our life is going to work out. And all of us do. And what we find is that it takes so many unexpected twists and turns. And one of my other guests, she kept calling it the plot twist. I don't know if you got to hear
Yeah.
Lauren Swinson talk, but she was just
Yep.
amazing where she kept going. And then a plot twist happened. And these things happen in our life that just throw us for a loop.
Yeah.
This is where guides have really influenced me and given me context for things. Can you speak a little bit to that idea that when you've been thrown for a loop and how a guide came along at just the right time?
Yeah. And yeah, I appreciate that question and thought because I love that we are not left alone on this
Mm-hmm.
earth, that I'm a person of faith and believe that God
Mm-hmm.
has created us to be part of community and not to live
Mm-hmm.
these solo lives. And in fact, there's somewhat of a danger to live too isolated or insulated. We're seeing that among our teenagers now, so many of them dealing with anxiety, depression, and all that stuff. And so much of that is connected to isolation. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think about sometimes some plot twists in my life. One of them you're aware of. We were in Africa serving. My husband and I, in our early 20s, kind of thought that was where we were going to be. landing is
Mm.
serving for a nonprofit overseas, and I got super duper sick and ended up having to be emergency flown home. And
Mm.
um, that led to a couple years, about 2 solid years of in and out, being in and out of the hospital, and doctors trying to figure out what was going on in my body. And what could have been a pretty isolating time, and was, I mean,
Mhm.
physically, I was
Mhm.
in our little apartment. I was so thankful that God brought people at just the right time during that
Mm.
season. One girl who actually had experienced the same kind of sickness that I had,
Mm.
that I was connected with over the internet. And my grandma came and would be there weekly and would help me. She taught me how to sew during that time so I could do something productive, because she
Yeah.
knew that I needed it. So other people tangibly, bringing food. And I had a friend who would listen to me ask the really hard questions
Mm.
and cry my way through it and be like, this is not what I had signed up for as an early
Mm.
married um,
Mm.
person. And so, yeah, thinking about other shifts in life, when I needed to step out of a job and
Mhm.
needed to come home and focus more on my kids for a season. And there were a group of people who came alongside me then,
Mm.
um, a counselor to really help me heal from some past things, to be able to be present in that.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think that it's a beautiful thing that God doesn't leave us alone, that there's
Yes.
community. And a lot of times it's just taking courage to receive
Sure.
from them, or to find yourself getting to be one of those people for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with people that have chosen to live more by a faith paradigm,
Mm-hmm.
we start releasing how we think the world should work and how our life should work. And we start releasing it to a divine guidance. And I don't know about you, but that has sure offered me a tremendous amount of peace. And when I think about my tagline, clarity, confidence, courage, it's that awareness that, oh, I'm not running my own life.
Yeah.
And when a plot twist happens and something happens, I get to reach out and there's a loving presence that is
Mm-hmm.
actually guiding all of it. I mean, what a comfort that is. And that's
Yeah.
really, for me, the essence of what it means to have faith, faith in
Yeah.
something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think as you talk about these experiences, I guess the question that's coming to my mind as you were talking is, what makes you know that you need to do something more like a professional
Mm-hmm.
guide, or you have something more informal? And the second part of that question is, what makes them a good fit?
Yeah. Such a great question. And I think I've gone through both of those processes of
Yes.
saying, like, okay, maybe I'm coming out of that Africa experience. There were things that friends could support me in,
Mm-hmm.
listening, encouraging, tangible needs, bringing me food, whatever. But then there was some deep work that I needed to do in processing the trauma of that experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I started to feel like this is a bit much for my community and my friends to carry, obviously I was walking that with the Lord. That was one of the sweetest times in my relationship with God, because
Mm-hmm.
he felt very near. Like I had
Mm-hmm.
peace, even though I was a mess. But he led me at that point. I felt like, you know what, I really do need some probably professional help at this point, and
Mm-hmm.
was led to a really great counselor who helps me unpack the trauma of that experience and sort of put it in its place,
Mm-hmm.
and begin to think about how to move forward, not just the
Mm-hmm.
terrible things that happened to me, but
Mm-hmm.
sort of like, and now how do we live learning what we've learned? And
Yeah.
so at that time, that was very, very helpful. And
Mm.
other times, I think sometimes it's beautiful to be able to walk with someone who has had a similar experience. There's that
Mm-hmm.
camaraderie of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not alone, I'm not the only one. And
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes we run to professional help when I
Mm-hmm.
think also we could turn to a neighbor and just be vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
authentic and say, this is a place that I'm hurting. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, I'm trying to figure out how to release my son, my second born son, to college. and I'm struggling with it. I want him to stay
Mm,
home. And I had a friend that I went for a walk with the other day, and I just said, can I be honest with you? I want him to be home. I want him to be close
mm,
by. And I know that's selfish. Like,
mm,
but can you help me just
mm,
unpack this? And she was really good to listen to that. And so in that case, a friend was very helpful.
mm,
Um, where it took, and I think our relationship went deeper because I was willing to
mm.
be vulnerable in that spot. Um, so yeah, it's discerning. What would you say to that, Heather? Discerning, yeah.
Well, as you were talking, this thought came to my mind. I think it's being very clear on your values and what you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
and what helps and what doesn't help. So as
Yeah.
you were talking, it hit me. So my own plot twists. I knew I could hear certain things from certain people, and some would be helpful and some would be not so helpful.
Yeah.
So when you're in a very vulnerable state,
Mm-hmm.
I think some of my core values is honesty, transparency,
Yep.
truth, and then my faith. Like I'm trying to transcend this moment, but I am feeling stuck. I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
thrown. I'm feeling flabbergasted. I'm feeling in shock. And I'm now building a team around me of guides.
Yeah.
So in my hardest moments, I think I had a team of guides around me. I had
Yeah.
professional help. I had friend help. I had
Yep.
faith help. I had just compassionate, kind help. And then I had experience help that had gone through some of these
Yep.
things. And to your point earlier, I think knowing how intense the season is in your life
Mm-hmm.
helps you determine how many people you need to get involved.
Yeah.
And my caution is always like, make sure the people you get involved share your core values.
Right.
Another core value I really had, and it's probably in the work that I do, I don't want to be told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to honor my own personal clarity and my own personal connection with the divine that I'm working this out. I just need you to travel alongside of me. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't need you
Sure.
to pick me up and carry me on the journey. I just need you to put your little backpack on and travel alongside with me for just a stretch.
Yeah.
And and then I'll find my way in this. And I think that's some of the when we talk about a good fit, Alyssa, I think there's some of that concern I have sometimes when people come along, and that's why I was really emphasizing good guides. There's some guides that come along that want to take the journey from you or do it for you, and I'll even throw them a bone. They're trying to help. They
Yeah.
have good heart and a good intention, but they're not letting you take the journey and asking clear questions that are empowering your own inner clarity and your own inner wisdom and your own connection with the divine.
Yeah. For sure. And I love what you and Michelle were talking about on the last
Mm.
podcast about that sort of the mutuality of that relationship between a guide and the guidee. What do you call
Yeah.
them?
The needy,
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
the vulnerable.
The vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah.
The mentee.
Yes.
Yeah. In that it doesn't seem like there's an agenda from
Hmm.
the guide already to
Yes.
create you into someone that I want you to be.
Yeah.
And instead it is this mutuality of let's come alongside each other and learn from one another. And you don't feel like somebody's just trying to make you into something. And I do, I
Hmm.
push against that too. I think I have some red flags when it's like, okay, I don't feel like you're fully listening to me or
Hmm.
that you have my best interest in mind. It feels like you're just wanting me to go into this place. And so
Hmm.
I need to step back from that. And yeah, that can be the danger in that. I've thought about this a lot with my job and also when I'm
Hmm.
hanging out with college students and how important it is to listen well
Hmm.
and to ask good questions, which I've learned a lot from you.
Mm.
And help them uncover the deeper questions and the things they're
Hmm.
asking that maybe they're not seeing on the surface.
Hmm.
But all the while realizing it is their story that
Hmm.
God is writing in their life, and it's not ours to grab it by the horns and
Yeah.
put it a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of a recent conversation I was having with my adult son, Luke, now
Yeah.
20 years old. And we had a very long talk. He was on a drive from
Mm.
visiting his sister over in Southern California, going back to his campus. And I think it was like a 2-3 hour drive, but we talked for quite a while. And these are my favorite talks where he's just kind of pouring out his heart. But at one
Yeah.
point, I took a wrong turn. I was listening to him, and of course, I'm a mom. I want to help.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I start moving into troubleshooting mode.
Yep.
What I love about my relationship with my son, and this is what I crave, probably with any relationship, is he stopped me. He said, "Mom, I appreciate what you're doing, but when you're throwing out all these ideas, it's only stressing me out more. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually not helping." And I literally stopped and I said, "Thank you for telling me.
Right.
Thank you for telling me and for being honest and for being kind about it."
Yeah.
Knowing and assuming a good intent about me.
Sure.
But it helped me pivot in that moment to be a better guide or a better
Yeah.
friend. And I think as we talk about our intent about what it looks like to be a guide, there's a couple thoughts that come to my mind. Be clear on the type of guide you want to be. Be clear on the
Yeah.
type of guide you like having in your life. And then be open to getting the feedback so that you can pivot in the
Yes.
moment.
Yes. And that says a lot about the relationship you have with Luke, that he
Yeah.
knows that you are a safe place. You're not going to freak out and go, "How dare you question me, son?
Yeah.
I'm your mom," and la la. But you have developed trust to where you go, "You know what? I hear you. You're right. Let me try to come
Yeah.
at this a different way," or "I'm sorry for that." And it's vulnerable to open yourself up. That was
Mm-hmm.
even my thought with now thinking, okay, I think it's time to pursue a spiritual director, is it's opening yourself to feedback or
Mm-hmm.
to seeing blind spots that maybe you don't see. And then being willing to say, yeah, that's true. And how
Mm-hmm.
do I walk forward in changing and growing and looking different in that? So yeah,
Mm.
that's part of the piece of accepting guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many
Yes.
scriptures about that, and Proverbs is full of it, right?
Yeah.
He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a friend of fools suffers harm. And
Yeah.
it's we will become wise as we're
Mm-hmm.
around those people, but also as we accept instruction and correction sometimes
Mm-hmm.
and encouragement to keep growing
Mm-hmm.
from those who love us and want what's best for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you handled it when hasn't been so much of a good fit?
Yeah, honestly, I can't think of too many options where that has
Mm-hmm.
been. I think more so I can reflect back on people who have really been helpful. Um, but I think being honest with them just about, I'm sensing in my
Mm.
journey that I think I'm supposed to go more so this way, or that's what I'm hearing more. And so I'm going to need to walk forward that way. And I'm sorry that that's different than what you
Mm.
might feel. I've had to have some of those conversations with family even, and
Mm.
that's hard, but
Mm-hmm.
having those boundaries and love to be able to say, I think I'm actually supposed to be going a different direction with this, and
Mm.
being gracious about it. But those are hard.
Oh, I've always loved that about you. I think you do those conversations so well. And
Oh,
talk about a guide. But you as my friend, I was like, she does those conversations so well. I just start getting either either extreme of want to avoid or get angry, and I think your ability to stay present and in the moment and reach for those core values, I think has made you really good at having those difficult conversations. And it's something that I've really taken note of in my own life going, okay, how would Alyssa handle this difficult
oh no.
conversation? Yeah. That's
There's
where you've
always
been a beautiful
things.
guide for me.
Well, thanks. There's always things we can grow in. My goodness.
Yeah, so true. So true.
Yeah.
My first book, The Life You're Made For, I wrote this for you to feel like you have your own coach in your corner to increase your clarity, build your confidence, and engage your courage. I'm excited about how this book is transforming lives because it's like a manual. I also wrote a coaching companion that goes with this, and you can buy both of these off Amazon. Well, you kind of mentioned this earlier. As you're looking at, good heavens, we're aging, Alyssa.
I know.
Even
Stop
though
it. We're
I
still in
even
our 20s, right? Come on.
we totally are in my own narrative, in my own mind. That's probably why I love long-term friends, because I'm like, they
Yeah.
remind me of not only who I was, but who I've grown into. And
Yes.
it's fun to revisit all those different spaces in your life and
Yep.
And sometimes just in a look or a
Yep.
second, you know, we're like, oh
Or
yeah,
a
we found each other.
paddleboarding adventure. Remember that? We are
Okay,
not 20 anymore, but we
I know.
tried.
All right, let's take a little side reel then. Tell everyone about our paddling board adventure.
No. Oh, I don't remember all the details. I just remember our daughters were a lot more game for what we were setting ourselves up for. And I remember that we parked far away because I think I was trying to do it for cheap, which, no surprise there. So we're like, if we just park over here, it's free parking and then we can get in. And we ended up hiking forever, carrying these big, heavy paddle boards and finally got in the water. And both of us were pretty tired and just kind of like, what in the world are we doing on this Saturday morning? But it was a great adventure.
Yeah, I was proud of us. We kept such a great spirit about it.
We did keep it a good spirit. We laughed at ourselves a lot.
We did. We all laughed at ourselves, but it was one grand adventure after another where I'm like, are we going to make it through this?
I know. I think we got lost at one point, and we needed a guide, Heather. We needed a guide on our paddleboarding adventure.
We were not sufficient, but we guided to those girls how to have fun. It didn't matter what we're doing. We laugh our way through it.
That's
so
right.
I love that about you, and I love that about
tangent.
her. Yes, yeah. Well, and I think that's, this idea of guide, I think even just you're reminding me, one of my core values is humor. One of the things I often tell people is like, I don't take myself that seriously. I take you seriously, but I don't take myself that seriously.
Yeah.
And so we can laugh and we can have fun at things, and humor can really get us through a lot of stuff, can't it?
Yes, yes. Laughter is good medicine. I love your laugh, Heather. You have the best laugh ever. But yes, it is to like not take yourself so seriously and to be able to laugh at the things that come that don't make sense and the funny messes we get ourselves in. And that's okay. That's
okay. So when you think about going back to the aging here, as we're aging, I think giving back as a guide in our life. And I think that's something I'm conscious of, not from a superiority or an arrogance, but from serving humanity. We can't just be consumers of the next mentor, the next guide, the next author, the next speaker, the next counselor, the next whatever. There's a responsibility we have as we start, well, like I like to call saging, not aging, but saging. As we start saging, I think there's a responsible question we ask is, how do we give back from all that has been poured into us? And how do we serve humanity from a place of recognizing the need and leaning toward it and meeting people where they're at?
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about that idea as you're saging, my friend.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's one of the richest gifts that we can both offer and receive is walking alongside somebody who's a little bit earlier on in the journey and getting to watch them discover life and have ups and downs and come out victorious and experience little victories. And it brings me such joy as a teacher to watch a child, who's struggling to learn how to read and continuing to find all different creative ways to help them discover. And when that light bulb comes on and they can do it and you're just celebrating alongside of them, so fun. And with my work with college students, I was thinking, Heather, how interesting it is. We have like an open house on Tuesdays at our house. Every Tuesday is taco night. And so college students know that they can come, and we'll have between 5 and 35. We never know how many will be there, but just trying to create a safe space for people to be at home and to have good food and to be listened to. And here's the aha moment I had. So for 3 weeks in a row, a different girl would say like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And we would just come sit on my couch, and really, they just wanted a space to be listened to. And I would just try to listen to their stories and what was hard for them right now and reflect back, a couple things, like maybe like, okay, here's what I'm hearing you say, and then pray for him. And all 3 of them, the last 3 weeks have been like, that was amazing, Lala. And I'm thinking, all I did was listen to you. Literally, I was like quiet most of the time.
Yeah.
And man, it's something that our young people are longing for is to have a space to be listened to and
Mm.
to feel valued. We're so
Mm-hmm.
busy, we're so distracted, and
Mm-hmm.
to even just offer as a guide the gift
Mm-hmm.
of a safe space for somebody to talk and process is a huge gift.
Yeah.
And it's that mutuality. It's so sweet for us to
Mm-hmm.
learn things and to be reminded of, oh yeah, I remember when I felt really zealous about this
Mm.
thing, or wow, I
Mm-hmm.
could love my family better in this way. Like I feel like I'm always learning from them. And so yeah, as we sage, that feels like my biggest calling is how
Mm.
to show up for other people,
Mm-hmm.
um, and be a positive voice for their growth, what
Yeah.
God's teaching them.
I love that. I had actually a good guide in my life, and he's still in my life, but he taught me the power of staying available.
Mm,
And he's a well-known writer. He puts his phone number on the back of his book.
right. So crazy.
I can't quite go there yet,
No.
but I probably have too much introvert in me. But
Mm,
I think that awareness of be available. It
yeah,
reminds me of what happened to me yesterday morning, and I was taking a leisurely morning, and so I was in my pajamas for longer than the average morning, but I was just
sure.
thoroughly enjoying it. And she knocks on my door to bring me some fresh vegetables, and thought it was so kind of her, but I opened the door and I ended up standing there probably like 30 minutes just talking to her on my
Mm,
porch. And she just was pouring out her heart. And I had a split second where I almost didn't open the door because I'm in my pajamas and
sure.
I look like I just rolled out of bed. I don't look like this pristine look that you see right
Sure.
now.
Yes, gorgeous, my dear.
This takes some work to get to.
Uh,
But I thought, she doesn't care what I
mm,
look like.
no.
She just wants me to be, I want to just be available. And you talk about meeting
Yeah.
people where they're at. I want to open the door
Yeah.
and I want to say good morning. And I want to trust that she doesn't care what I look like. And I don't
No.
have to be self-conscious about that. So in all my Saturday morning glory, I just whipped the door open, told her good morning. We ended up just chatting. And I thought, I'm so glad I just made myself available. I'm just
Yeah.
so glad I listened. And to your point, it is in the work that I do in crossing humanity and even just where my faith is, just trying to be consciously daily available to listen to whoever's in front of me
Yeah.
is becoming how I want to be a guide. It's becoming my new highest value of just saying they don't
Mhm.
need my guidance. They don't need my advice. They need to feel safe.
Yeah.
They need to feel empowered that they're holding their own inner wisdom. They need to feel their own connection with their sense of self. And I get to value that. I get to validate that. I get to honor that they're on their journey. And I get to just be available to say, I care. I
Yeah.
care.
Exactly.
And I think that's the essence of just not good guides, but fantastic guides that
Yeah,
are just staying available.
for sure. And I learned that from the life of Jesus. Like as I'm
Mm-hmm.
studying scripture and I
Mm-hmm.
look at the way he interacted with people, and even if he was on his way to do something else and there was an
Mm-hmm.
interruption, he
Mm-hmm.
made time for a minute
Mm-hmm.
to look at somebody in the eye, to listen, to ask a good question. And that is not my go-to. I'm like a
Yeah.
task girl. I'm like, let's get this thing
Yeah.
done. I've found myself, eyes down, let's move. But I'm trying to slow down to really look at people, like you're saying, to offer availability. And
Mm-hmm.
man, people long for that. Like what
They
a
do.
gift to your neighbor.
Yeah.
She went away different. Where if you hadn't opened the door,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
we would have missed that moment.
Yeah. And that's what every human is looking to feel valued, loved, and cared for.
Yeah.
And I just got back from a week of leadership conference and it's over 300 people I was working with. And
Mm.
the challenge of staying present that way, but I just kept saying, what person or group needs to feel my incredible, like just full presence,
Yeah.
just to listen to them. And it's not the pressure to sometimes have good guidance and to have wisdom,
Right.
especially when they're paying you to do that. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to offer
I gotta
something.
have some words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But that's my false belief. No, I
Yeah.
don't. My true
Mm.
belief is I just need to be present.
Yeah.
I need to meet them where they're at. I need to trust that I'm being led and guided in this conversation. I need to trust that what will come to me will come to me in the moment. And I need to trust that they're listening to their own inner wisdom and their divine guidance. And so
Yeah.
the purpose then is just being fully present, present to yourself, present to the moment, present to the other person, and present to even your divine connection. All of that is the most powerful gift we can offer this world as we think about being good guides.
Yeah. It's a good word.
Wow. Well, as you know, we can talk for hours.
I know.
We'll better wrap it up here. What do you want to leave our audience with? What encouragement, as they've been listening to you, what would you like to leave them with?
Yeah, I think I want to encourage myself and our listeners that we aren't meant to be alone. And it's tempting when we see things in ourselves, or when we're hurting, or when we feel really vulnerable, to hole up, to isolate. And yet there's so much richness if we're brave enough to come before God, come before each other, and be honest about where we're at. And then in the seasons where we find ourselves with an opportunity to care for somebody else, to take the moment to listen, to offer a word of encouragement, to guide someone with just a little bit of your presence, and how that can make a huge difference. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Makes me think about this idea of faith in the process, faith in a divine presence, faith in other people, but it's thrown out your hand is a vulnerable act to do. But when you throw out your hand, there's usually a hand there to catch you.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have faith in that process more than ever. When I'm throwing out my hand, there's someone there.
Yeah.
And I get to trust that process, and I get to trust enough to throw out my hand. And that's in the work that I do. So many people are throwing out their hands, and I try and honor that vulnerability. But more importantly, I like to honor the courage. It takes a lot of courage to throw out your hand, doesn't it?
It sure does.
And trust that someone's going to be there to catch you, or to guide you, or to just be present with you, or be available with you. So I guess that's where I want to leave our audience. Throw out your hand. There's a hand there, ready and willing to take it.
Yeah. Thanks, Heather.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for joining us today, Liz. And
It's been fun.
If you all have enjoyed this show, I'm just going to ask you, please subscribe, rate. It helps us out a lot. And share it with a friend. We're cheering you on.